happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Dig.
Oh, hells yeah. Welcome to a very special audio-only edition of Spectrum Crap the Bed. It's our new podcast. How are you, sir?
Yeah, man, it's a happy hour has kind of been struck by a few things lately out of our control, and this is the latest. But we would not keep ourselves from gracing your feeds, and lo, here we are.
Yeah. Hey, man, that was a fun show last night.
It was, man. He was on fire.
Yeah,
Heaton-
so he told me later, maybe he said it on air, but he was talking about how he felt like a golden retriever where every other time he had been on, he was just like, everyone's laughing, you're having a good time. That's great. I wish I spoke this language. And then this was the first time that he felt like from beginning to end, he understood like, we're doing this and now we're doing that. And now we're doing the other thing.
Yeah. And also, I don't know if I, in any medium, have ever really seen full, like, comedian Heaton unleashed. Like just him at his, like, at the top of his, like, super, super sharp improv kind of mind. And not to say that he hasn't always been a funny guy, but usually he's in some version of I'm
Thoughtful.
trying to be clever mode, or yeah, exactly. He's like in pundit kind of version of Heaton. And last night he was just clicking.
Yeah.
It was just on. It was hilarious.
Yeah. The way he described it was like the first thing to click is like, oh, wait, the games. I should not try to win the games. We should make the games fun and funny. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we keep throwing them to the wolves with the 1 minute stories and all of that stuff. But no, he really felt like from beginning to end, he was on the same level.
Yeah, dude. I'll tell you what, man. Wednesday. What the fuck is up with this day? What's going on here?
Man, it's the one day of the week that I always forget we have happy hour. but in this case, it's the first one that we've had.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, here's a great bit.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. This is
Yeah.
going to be perfect.
Yeah.
You're actually calling me now. I was just about to do a visual thing.
All right. And hold on. Finding the two of us. Look at that. We exist.
All right. So I get a text or email from Corey, the major domo over there at Bizarre Magic, saying that I have a package incoming.
I do love that his title is so flexible. Sometimes he comes on screen and it says resident adult. Other times it says ops manager. Like basically his title is whatever I feel like will be most impressive in that moment. Like there have been times that people have reached out like, oh, we'd like to do a sponsor thing or whatever. And it's like, well, let me forward this over to the chief director of advertising partnership acquisitions. Corey, what do you think?
Yeah, no, he's just the guy that gets things done, up to and including apparently sending my Christmas gifts, because it was only when I got a package this, like, literally minutes ago, that I remembered that the last time I got a big package from the headquarters was last year, and it was a gigantic box of wine.
Yes.
Because you had I guess you were thinking of gift ideas, and at some point somebody said, oh, well, what about a wine of the month club? And you were like, 12 bottles of wine sounds cool, but the fuck's with this waiting a month bullshit? Like, can we just get 12 bottles of wine?
What's funny is if I remember correctly, it was actually the reverse.
Was it?
Is I proposed a wine, a wine every month, because it's one of those things where it's like, I remember when my aunt gave me a subscription to The Onion print edition, and like every single time it showed up, I was like, God, I love that she did that. That's so great. And so I wanted to do the same thing with wine, but through a mix up, you just got a shit ton of wine.
I just got, and it was better. It was way better.
That day I learned.
No, yeah, just because look, periodically throughout your life, you get a thing of the month, and either you do it for yourself or somebody does it for you, and it's always nice. But like sometimes it's like, oh, the portions are small, or it's just another thing that kind of like becomes a part of your life, and you're happy when you get it, but you forget it fairly quickly. You very rarely forget 12 bottles of wine just showing up via the mail. And I will also very, very be loath to forget the, I don't even know how many cans of independent craft brews that have come.
Yes. I think that was us leaning into the experience. The discussion as we had it was, okay, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, I know Justin has this radical new diet that involves beer for
Yeah.
dinner. And I know we did wine last year, but what if we just did an awesome beer thing? How many did you get?
I actually don't even know because the way it's packaged. Here, I guess I probably could. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times 2. So 16. 16 cans of craft beer. Some of them are regular can size, some of them are pint size.
So three dinners.
Yeah, no, it's fucking dope, dude. I'm super pumped. Well, because also, and this is very specific, but on Fridays, I like to take this little walk up to this cigar shop and then down to Jack London Square and back. And I used to take a scooter from my place up to the cigar shop, so I would save one kind of leg of the trip because it's a lot of walking down. But then the scooters went away after the riots. The riots happened, or no, not even the riots. The election night, they everybody got their stuff down expecting that there might be a riot on election night in Oakland, and the scooters just never came back. So
Oh my God. Does that mean that the scooter days like were a fad that came and went and we
we
may
are
never get back to them?
we are facing that
I
possibility
had
unless
never
things
considered that.
stabilize.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Well, they were always kind of a pit of money. Like
But
the
also
replacement
wonderful.
on them.
And they were really great.
I love them. I am unapologetically
I mean,
in
I
love.
remember going around Twitch in San Jose, us being a scooter gang. It was fucking
Oh my
great.
god. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It rules. Like those scooters are the best, and they were great for Oakland because you were able to get into downtown from like my place, which is otherwise like 15-20 minute walk. Like you could do that in 5 minutes. It was just super great, super utilitarian. And now they are gone. Now, they might come back. You never know. They might come back, but right now they are gone. And that means that I have to walk. So if I'm gonna be doing that kind of walking,
Right.
you know, it's too dangerous to go alone. Take this. You'd like a little beverage to
Yeah.
kind of tack on to the walk. But now,
Do you
oh my God, do I have my own bat cave of possibilities for which I can enjoy? This is amazing.
That is awesome. Are they local brews or from all over, or what
These
did you
are
end up
all
getting?
over. So I have a Partners in Crema coffee stout. Got a Falling Knife cumulum columinous a tropical fruit sour, and that's from that's from Minnesota.
All right.
Got one from Colorado. This one's a cranberry turbo shandy from Akron, Ohio.
Uh,
Yeah, this place is
by the way,
all over the place.
I'm gonna see if we can get the chat in here. So I'm gonna restart this thing.
Yeah.
You and I will be able to keep talking, but just know that
So-
the video is gonna go a little bit weird.
Ghost in the Machine from Louisiana. Like this, there's not even a region here. Like March, to be honest. Like, yeah, wine goes fast because both of us drink it. The beer will go a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Because I will be the only one drinking it. But yeah, no, an amazing gift,
Awesome.
And I greatly appreciate it, and I'm glad now that I was able to at least the dinosaur fucking the box has become such a hit that I can even begin to repay you.
Man, not gonna lie, there was definitely a moment as we loaded up that clip last night that I was just like, oh fuck. Was it just funny to us? Is it bad? And then very quickly I was like, no, genuinely great.
I mean, it's kind of perfect comedically, just because like you don't quite know what it is, and then by the time that you see him down on his knee, just really giving it to that box, you're like, oh, this is undeniable. It's undeniable that this dinosaur is fucking this box.
Yeah, for both audio and visual people, I guess when I rebooted, we lost about like 30 seconds of audio. So whatever, deal with it.
Sorry
Josh.
about that.
Yeah,
sorry, Josh.
Yeah, sorry, Josh, but not sorry,
Josh.
Sorry,
Josh.
So, what are you most excited about? You ever have something not go great and it's actually wonderful? We did like sort of. It's not really clear when the finish line for Christmas sales and stuff is.
Yeah.
But getting a resounding, yeah, you're done. On the last marketing email, chef's kiss. Like all of a sudden, it's just like, I really am done. We're done. That's great.
So wait, you mean you got that like just in terms of the sales or the voice of God or what gave you
just,
you're done?
Everything from the open rate to the response rate to the sales or whatever. Like it was a unanimous Supreme Court decision that Brian, you need to stop trying. You're done. 2020 is over.
That's 2020.
Now off duty.
And we're wrapped.
And,
we're wrapped on 2020.
As a matter of fact, why don't you go off, have a great night attack tonight? Oh, wait, you did? Excellent. How about you wake up in those same clothes tomorrow, get up, walk 2 or 3 miles, and then spend the rest of your day helping Bonnie move her kiln into the promised land. And great. Now you can have 30 minutes to start integrating some of the Jay's equipment into our home theater, which I just set up. And dude, those Logitech speakers Jay had, they're pretty dope, and I was pretty excited. So I typed into YouTube, I typed in epic music, and it was like, epic music 20-hour mix or whatever. And I took it and I cranked it up, and in that small room, holy shit, movies are going to be great in there. Yeah. And I'm like, and Callie's dancing around like, oh my gosh. And then Josie comes in and was like, what is this? And I'm like, this is epic music. And then I hear ka-thunk, ka-thunk, ka-thunk from, my neighbor. My neighbor says, knock it off with the epic music. Some of us are in class. And
that's hilarious.
And then, boom. So and then I was able to swoop in right here, and I think after this, Heat and I are gonna do a little special talking about like how to talk politics and have nobody get upset. And
oh, great.
I'm a little bit nervous about how it's gonna go, because what I don't want it to look and feel like is as if I've got like tricks, which would be in character for the scam school guy to have like a bag of tricks.
I don't think you need to worry about that. Look, the aesthetic that I feel like Heaton is kind of continuing to like evolve with his empire is the idea that like this is this kind of like commune or cult. Like the political orphanage is just a place for which you are separating from the body politic literally. And now you are engaging in discourse that is kind of forbidden there. And so I think if you just lay out like, hey, look, this is something that I've thought a lot about. This is something that I've read about. And let's just have a conversation, because obviously it's a desire that not only you two have, but I'm sure so many people listening to that episode will have. Like, let's just hash out my thoughts and what I try to do and go from there. I think it'll be perfect.
He looped the two of us in the same camp for something that I never really thought was like a trick or a gimmick or a tactic or anything, but instead is something that just quite naturally, and it very likely is the reason that you and I became such good friends, is that when in doubt, roll over and show your belly. And so now, meanwhile, like Heaton, and this is by his own admission, so I'm not putting words in his mouth. And of course, you'll hear this on whatever it is we record together. But he points out, he was like, I'm an alien and I'm just studying. Like, how is it that both you and Justin are able to have these cozy conversations with people who disagree so much with you? And it's like, and he goes, both of you use the same technique, as far as I can tell. He says, Justin instantly says, I'm just a glue-sniffing Floridian. And you say, I'm just an idiot who eats fire for a living. And I'm like, what we're really saying between the lines are, if you want to eviscerate us, go for it. You'll get, if that's important to you. We don't care. There's no ego in this. We're not, we're here to have a connection and a conversation.
Well, I think part of it is humility steroids, like part of it is just like, allow me to demonstrate that I'm not putting on airs by totally theoretically like ripping out my credibility. Right. Like what you might think as, like, whatever you think of me as, I'm asking you right now to reframe me as the lowest possible level, right? Like, please, like, my goal is, if I have anything smart to say, like, I don't want it to be from inference. I want it to be from action.
Right.
And I think that for
me and you, I want no credit for anything smart that is said. Like, I will constantly frame things as though it's like, you seem like somebody who's ready for an epic rock'em sock'em robot battle of politics. Here are some ideas that I would imagine you'd love to take down. They're definitely not coming from me, even though you're hearing them from me. I'm going to describe them to the greatest detail I can. Then I'm going to sit down and eat popcorn while you take on those ideas. And then they say those things, and it's like, man, that was a great opening salvo. I would imagine this imaginary rock'em sock'em robot that you're fighting, that I'm very much enjoying watching you fight, might counter with something like the following. Then what would you do? Let me get my popcorn. And then, meanwhile, it's like, I guess what I'm saying is by removing ourselves and our egos and our personalities from the argument discussion, what we're really doing is we're forcing them to take on the ideas, and ideas don't fall for ad hominem attacks in a way that we would. But you and I are quick to remove ourselves.
I think also it's like, both of us really have little interest in debates per se, like in being the, like, oh, I'm the champion of this idea and I will joust now with you with this idea. I think we're far more interested in discussions. Like we're like, our ideal is you run like a non-violent intellectual version of the Mos Eisley Cantina, like where it's just like we happen to be at a place with a bunch of people that disagree, and instead of shooting each other, we just have a conversation where a bunch of people are boldly declaring their stances, and we can all learn from it. Whereas, like, I think there's this idea, especially in our modern culture, where like talking politics equals arguing about politics, and I think both of us sort of reject that as a concept. And that might be part of our armor of like, hey, I'm just a dog that does tricks, so take this for what it's worth. But arf, 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 my thought on what do you think about this?
I do think it's worth disclaiming, like, I am down for some unfair bare knuckle boxing debate, but it has to be over something dumb. like Star Trek versus Star Wars or whatever.
Oh,
like,
sure.
Like
Yeah.
Like that's the arena that I'm ready to punch below the boat.
Yeah.
Punch below the boat. Yeah, the boat being the Enterprise because
I'm gonna punch it right. I'm gonna right below the boat. It's like, oh man, I guess I've gained a little during the during the pandemic. I'm gonna punch below the boat, you fat fuck. I'm going overboard.
Yeah, and so like I'm not above all the cheap shots, but I figured out like in a world where friendships end over the dumbest of shit, where it's like I could think of no dumber reason to end a friendship than because you couldn't change someone's mind in a dunk. Like, what a dumb way to end a personal connection.
Well, I mean, also aside from the fact that it's like, for whose benefit and for what gain? Like, so you can be more like a person on the TV, and then it's like, okay, then all the people on the TV, you went with the dickhead in the tiny box on CNN. That's like, you didn't put on fucking Superman's cape. You didn't fucking make a Homelander outfit. You weren't Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. No, you're the fucking postage stamp cunt who is saying
Australian cunt.
The Australian cunt, yeah, who is just parroting the talking points of the day. It's like, what a worthless thing to be. Like, and I get it. Some people really love doing it, and if that's what they're doing, then I don't want to yuck on their yum. But for me, unless you are specifically trying to get in that, like, it holds very, very little interest. And by and large, I'd much rather have, like, I've done a couple of these like Twitch panels that are basically all of these fights, right? And they're very awkward for me, mostly because it usually winds up boiling down to like 2 or 3 people that are very engaged and want to get the most riled up, and they start kind of like fighting with each other, and the moderator is trying to move things around, but it's awkward. And at the end of the day, to be honest with you, I'd rather be friends with everybody.
Right.
I would so much rather just be like, all right, you out and out communist, you a former veteran who's convinced that Trump had the election stolen from them. I would so much rather just know when you're at peace what your opinion is, and go from there. Like, I would so much rather know that, because I think that to me makes me smarter. It makes the world better. And if also beyond that, it's probably the way that I would most likely spread my ideals. If what I really wanted to do was spread my ideals, the way that I'm actually going to do it is by having a quiet conversation with a friend and not yelling at them on the internet.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's also like the moment I smell that, oh, this is a dunk contest or whatever. It's like and this is not just in a public forum. And of course the rules do change and it becomes a different animal when it's when it's in a public forum or whatever. And man, I don't know. So in a private forum, I really do lose all interest if somebody wants to dunk on a one-on-one, because it's like, hey man, the only reason to dunk on each other is if we're playing for
public
a crowd.
gratitude.
Right.
Yeah.
And if there's no crowd, then you're just somebody who, plays for the Generals and I'm a Harlem Globetrotter. And it would be embarrassing and actually rude for me to dunk on you right now, because it's just one-on-one and neither of us are getting paid. Now, when we're getting paid, let's go for it. And that, and to be honest, that is one of the things that I really miss about making regular appearances on This Week in Tech, was at least the odds were good that I would find somebody to disagree with, and there would be I don't think I was unkind in my dunking, but I do remember a few minutes that I really loved dunking, like oh, doggone it, who is the science fiction author who wrote A Mote in God's Eye, who I dunked on? He was talking about how this just-in-time management is going to be the downfall of humanity. And I said, you know what else is just-in-time management? My liver, my heart, my lungs. This is what it means to be part of the body. Yeah, Jerry Purnell. Thank you very much, Ben Franklin. Like that to me is playing for sport for an audience. And that seems above board or whatever. But in a one-on-one conversation, man, is there no money in that. And even then I tried to phrase it in a way where Jerry and I were on the same page and we were just trying to put on a show.
Yeah, I guess I don't. I just genuinely don't like fighting. Like I just genuinely like, unless it's about dumb stuff. Like I'd
Like we
fight about
talked
who
about,
should
yeah.
have won. Yeah, who should have won an Oscar or whether or not the prequel sucked or something like that. It's like okay,
Watchmen.
cool.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Excuse me. I
or
had something in my throat.
exactly. Get into that. Well, I mean, I don't know. I forgot where I left off with Watchmen, but I'm glad people that liked it liked it. That's my official review. Unlike other movies for which I don't have a review until Christmas
Oh
when
my
Wonder
God.
Woman 2 comes out.
Oh, and you could talk about how much better it is than
If
that
I like,
fucking
if
piece
I like
of garbage.
If I like it, if I like it. Otherwise, there'll be 2 movies that I don't have an opinion on. But yeah, I think it's there's just to me little worth in carrying more grudges. Like I feel like I already have these kind of like lifetime grudges in my life, my personal grudges of people that I harbor, and that's enough. Like I don't know if I'm really even comfortable with them, let alone making new ones, or I'm really genuinely terrified of the idea that somebody would think that I'm something that I'm not, right? And that's really one of the things that's happened through my 30s is realizing like, okay, well, what impression do I make? Like if I walk into a room, what do people think of me instinctively? What are the reactions that I have? Like how do people walk out of the room thinking of me in general? And part of that has affected who I am, and realizing that like, oh, you want to know what? Like at times people can think that I'm arrogant or abrasive. And so what I need to do is lead with kindness and charity. And so it's like, for me, it's almost like a religious element of, I don't ever want to walk into a situation and be like, gotcha, motherfucker. Because maybe I'm smarter than them. Maybe I'm more clever than them. But what is it really going to gain me? Like at the end of the day.
Yeah, Renegu in the chat says, problem if you encounter an out-and-out MAGA person that comes with a lot more baggage and conspiracy stuff, nobody would want to deal with that. I would say even in that case, you can immediately find common ground. Because yes, you're not going to find common ground in your politics or even your belief of things, but what you can find common ground in is to immediately say, oh, wonderful. I don't think I've ever been given the gift of a 20-minute conversation of somebody in your position. Would you mind if I explored a little bit and found out more about like do you believe in evolution? Okay, so you don't. Okay, great. So creationist, new Earth creationist, old Earth creationist, God's will creationist, creationism through evolution. Fascinating. And you're not making judgments. You're just here to like now you have common ground. You want to understand him and he wants to be understood. Now, granted, it's not going to be in a context where either one of you is going to change each other's mind, but neither did Darwin have a conversation trying to change the mind of all the turtles. It's like just being able to understand. So if I'm hearing you right, you are a new earth creationist who believes in the Bible is the literal word of God, divinely inspired through the Council of Nicaea, and you believe that Trump is the physical instrument, much like, and then you quote back to him the exact passage that he's talking about, and you get to the end of that, and you're like, that is fascinating, and you'll never be wrong, and you'll never be lying, because it is fascinating to me. And that person will deeply love feeling completely understood. And I'm seeing you cringe a little bit at this.
No. If anything, I just think it's partly, at least from my perspective, calories that are well spent, but for me, unnecessary. Because if we're talking about conspiracy, friends, we are in a universally conspiratorial age. Now, we can think that our neighbor's conspiracy is obviously bullshit, but we treasure and love our conspiracies. And they are so pervasive that if you find yourself across political lines while somebody else is saying something that you find to be absolutely asinine, allow me to give you the Konami cheat code where you can immediately drop all pretenses and hug across battle lines. Well, whatever. But we both know Epstein didn't kill himself, right? Like immediately.
Universal common ground.
Universal common ground. Everybody, I'd like to give the world a Coke. Like we're all hugging, fucking like, putting down our guns and playing soccer on Christmas
Epstein
Day.
didn't kill himself. I smell a conspiracy, a conspiracy. The bones don't break when you hang yourself, even when you diddle kids of 3, even when you diddle kids.
Yeah. No, being a serial molester does not weaken the cartoid bone. Like, so yeah, I think, but that's the thing again is what
Diddling
we've lost.
girls of 13 also would have rhymed.
13.
Would have been more. Sorry, it's just you're in the moment. You
That's
grab
fine.
what you can.
I
Sometimes
love that
you think it's a
Epstein-
brass ring. Sometimes it turns out to be the ass ring.
I love that the Epstein purists have logged on and want to correct you on. Yeah, I think part of what we've done as we've gotten so passionate about politics is we've looked right into the micro and not into the macro. And when you look at the macro, all of these things are common, right down to the Dominion voting machine stuff. Like that's like a thing right now on the right. Old enough to remember in 2004 when it was the Diebold voting machines that the liberals were screaming about that robbed John Kerry of the election in Ohio. So it's like these things have been around. And by the way, I tend to be a very, well, let's check it out kind of guy. Like, so if you want to say like, all right, well, what evidence have you seen? Because I saw these things that happened. And even then, if you're like, okay, well, then do you think that George W. Bush should have lost? Do you think that John Kerry should have won? There's a million different avenues for which we can explore if we're actually just laying out things that we believe as opposed to trying to win an argument. Like, and that to me, it's like beyond this pride. And the pride to me comes from a sense of like everybody looks at themselves as the beaten down baby face that wants to punch up against the larger bully. But it's like, regardless of even the larger cultural issues, let's say you very much believe in those, there still is a moment here where we can all get smarter and we can all get better and we can all connect on some kind of level.
Yeah, and I think that might be the biggest secret is no matter who you're talking to, there does exist something genuinely interesting where the two of you are on the same team, whatever that is, and to explore together, either whether it be something that neither of you, as fast as possible, I suppose, I seek to find a fringe thing that neither one of us has a strong opinion about. Because if it's, like whatever, a fundamentalist Christian who believes in the power of prayer to, instantly cure people of epilepsy or autism or whatever, or vaccine, anti-vaxxer or whatever. Like, hey man, that argument is a 2-key operation. It takes two to decide. Here's how the rest of the next hour goes: is both of us not convincing the other and getting angry. So if you don't turn your key, but instead say, "Wow, that's a big deal." Before we go there, can I propose some other interesting 2-key operations? And then just you stay in the discussions that, and don't feel like you're selling yourself out on your beliefs or whatever, because the truth is you'll have infinite time to get around to, if it matters, you can have that discussion at another time. And guess what? If they spend 3 hours having a really good time talking to you, then you will be in a much better, more authoritative position to revisit that bigger topic down the road.
Absolutely. And like, for example, when I went to cover the Trump rally in Tulsa, when I would talk to people, there was this moment where I think they would agree to an interview and then they would be on edge as they were kind of like waiting for the moment where they would kind of get into their subroutine, right? And they would get into the like, oh, well, that's what you think because what about and right? Like, and I would just bullshit with him. Like the only hack I had there was I wore an American flag mask. Just because I just knew that if I got into a conversation with anybody about masks, I at least wanted my mask to be an American flag, where it's like, all right, I just want to make that a confusing thing for them.
Which,
Like, it was basically like the club on a car. I knew that I would still probably face the same problem. I just wanted to make it a little bit more difficult in their thought pattern.
by the way, just from a 1,000-foot view here, it's truly remarkable to me that somehow Republicans got to co-opt the literal symbol for America as uniquely theirs. Like somehow, like if you're ever behind a truck that has an American flag, pretty sure I know who they voted for.
But that's the thing. That was like ceded territory, because Democrats wanted to not identify with the American flag because they were so ashamed of America. And so that became the like, oh, okay, well, now we'll do it because now it was identifying and you knew it. Whereas now, like when Biden got named the victor by the AP, and I go out on the streets of Oakland, a lot of American flags. Now all of a sudden everybody's really excited in Oakland to pull out their American flags. Has much changed? No, indeed. The president that you've loathed was still the president that you loathed. But are you now there to wag the flag? Sure.
Real quick, Greg and Poof in the chat says, any book recommendations to be better at these kind of skills? Yes, so good. I read it twice. I got halfway through and then reread it with my daughter. But Peter Boghossian, and he has a co-author whose name I don't recall, How to Have Impossible Conversations. A lot of it was, he had wonderful terminology for things that I think both Justin and I come to us intuitively. For example, he talks about the importance of building a golden bridge, a very easy off-ramp where they don't have to get trapped and cornered and checkmated. That makes it, I think the way Andrew represented it last night on the show was like an easy way to admit they're wrong. I would go farther than that. I would say an easy way to not even have to admit they were wrong, and but instead to maneuver the conversation to more productive territory. It's great. And also, as I told Andrew, because I started following Peter Boghossian, and I am certain that he has a reason for this, but for a dude who sold a book that I liked very much about how to have impossible conversation, boy, is that Twitter feed not interested in having any kind of conversation. It's nothing but dunking on Trump left and right. So yeah, that surprised me.
Well, I mean, I think that the thing that usually happens from here is like, oh, well, obviously that's fine within reason, but like this situation is out of reason. And you want to know what? I'm fine with people being able to draw that line. We all have our own lines. And like, look, how much would I really want to have a conversation with, like, let's say an actual white nationalist, like somebody who came out and was like, no, we need an ethno state and only white people can truly move the world forward. Not at all. Like, I have very little interest in, like, to me, the most repugnant thing in media is when we actually give platforms to like Richard Spencer or something like that. Like, not even like a kook who crosses the line like Alex Jones. To me, I have more of a stomach for a provocateur who crosses the line, because that's kind of the point to me of being a provocateur. If you're just like, no, I'm a boring person who just hates black people, like, or thinks that they're inferior. It's like, all right, well, then there's not really much I want to talk to you about. There's not really like, I have very little interest in even engaging that. So it's like, draw your own lines. If you think that somebody's just not worth engaging, then don't engage them. But understand this: if you dunk on them, then you are engaging them. You are bringing
giving
them in
everything they want.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've listened to Heaton's latest episode about Antifa. Did you?
I loved it. I actually called him and congratulated him on it.
Fucking next level, right? Like what a called shot. And he spends the first 15 minutes sketching out how he can understand both sides of the issue, and then apologizes for taking this long on the preamble, but then explains what he's about to touch. And it is absolutely vital that everything he says for the next hour be understood that nobody listening is under attack. And it was so elegant, and it didn't overstep its bounds. God damn, it was good. It was really, I don't think I've ever been more proud of him.
Yeah. I think that there's, and it's funny because we talked a lot about those groups when he was out here, and a lot of the ideas of like, well, how much of this is just media finding a boogeyman, and politicians then using that heat to further themselves and create a reason to go to the polls and a reason to fear. But at the same time, like, where is where is a real threat? Like, or sorry, but not even a real threat, because real threat is loaded. Where is the biggest threat?
Right.
Where is
Objectively.
And I
Like-
love the way that he framed it, because he has a personal connection to it, of like, where's the Oklahoma City bombing? Like, where's the shooting, like the mass shooting? Like, where does that come in? Or who is likely to do it? And I think that the conclusions that he came to were reasonable.
Yeah. And he also, I feel like if you are a full-on member of Antifa, you will deeply respect that he accurately represents the ideals, and to the credit of Antifa, points out that the total number of deaths attributable to Antifa is 1, and full stop, right? And then he even explores the fringe cases, like people who threw a firebomb at a police station and got shot as a result, and it goes into that, and then talks about the by the numbers white nationalism deaths, and where it currently stands, and all this stuff, which again, even as I summarize this, is going to sound like I'm dunking on one side or another, but fucking Heaton manages to negotiate this for an hour straight, and I think white nationalists would be able to listen to the whole thing and feel like they were fairly represented, and say like, yes, there are those that go too far and inappropriately, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is I think, there is certainly a discussion about white nationalists, but largely the groups that are spoken of are Proud Boys and Oath Keepers, either of which are explicitly racially motivated organizations, or at least they claim to be to not be such. You can have your own debate based on their merits, but like, I think, again, it's just, I really hope that we're at a point now where, like, we just went through this like white knuckle 4 years of rage, and the world was crazy, and we, like, I hope at the very least, and I'm encouraged on some level, that like these last month and a half, these last 6 weeks have been America looking in the mirror and being like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what did we do? Like, much in the same way that maybe a lot of us are physically looking in the mirror, or looking at our bank accounts, or looking at where the world is because this pandemic happened. And it's like, yeah, we didn't even blink. We took all this election stuff and we just let it ride right through the stakes of the pandemic. And like, everything got worse because of it. There is, without a doubt, blood on all of our hands collectively, because we let a legit health emergency get subsumed in an election that we'd all invested too much over the last 3 years for us to not really make this election a big thing. And people are dead because of it. I very much believe that. And it's like, well, if that's where we're at, then I just hope that we can look in the mirror and say, well, I mean, what's happening? Like, what's going on? Where are we? Why do I not talk to my uncle anymore?
Yeah, if nothing else, I'm hoping that everybody, I truly believe this is probably the case, is that I think we as a society have exhausted ourselves for our appetite of arguing and screaming. At least for 20 minutes here. And the last time I felt this kind of exhaustion was shortly after 9/11, where in this case it was a partisan exhaustion, where it's just like, man, we're Congress. Can we just hold hands and sing "God Bless America"? Would that be the craziest thing? And then they did, and obviously, shit went a little bit bonkers in the years afterwards. But
as it turns out, Congress agreeing, we might not want to overdo it.
Reminder: my favorite thing is deadlock. Love deadlock. But it smells a bit like that right now, where it's like maybe we're all just a bit exhausted, and it's like whatever things we have to disagree and fuss over, they don't feel as white hot and as on fire as. I hope we're all embarrassed of how outraged we were in 2019, because looking back at 2019, I can barely remember a goddamn thing that was worthy of being as outraged as the world was about. Was Trump impeached in 2019?
I was there in Austin about a year ago to record the holiday episodes, and while I was there, he was impeached by the House. Yes.
Okay, and also, like, yes, I know that all of us know we can Google it, but right now, everybody who's hearing me, what was he impeached for? Because I genuinely am going to have to take a minute to remember.
I mean, I know, but if people want to raise their hands,
I don't.
Yeah, Tally says you're assuming that we're still not outraged. No, I'm not assuming that anybody's still not outraged. I don't know if we're at critical mass.
Oh, that's right. Quid pro quo. That's what it was. Wow.
Of what country?
Ukraine. I do remember that.
That's
much.
it.
Yeah. Okay. But also it's like, and I'm not
I
saying, I'm not saying
by
we're
the
not
way,
outraged. I am saying we're tired. We're sleepy toddlers.
And by the way, I will say this: it's the comfortable. It is the can we please go back to brunch now? People that are the ones that are going to turn it down. And I don't know if that is great for systemic change. For those who thought that this was going to be a moment of systemic change, we'll see. We'll see. I think that those wheels tend to still move slowly. And some folks for whom you thought were allies might not be. I think the people that stay on the ball and the people that pay attention to this kind of stuff and the people that continue to talk about it are the people that you're probably going to want to pay more attention to going forward, because I don't think it's going to be cause celebrity in the same kind of way that it was in 2019. And I do think that politics is going to recede a little bit. But I don't know. Hopefully not too much, because I make my fucking money here. So,
I mean, that's the beauty is all interesting discussions are politics of a sort. Like if you needed to, you could never mention any government again, and it could be all sports politics. Like it could constantly be about like who betrayed what team and left what organization to shoot a ball in a different organization or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember in Des Moines, I was talking to my buddy JD Durkin, who works at Cheddar, and they had just voted to acquit Trump and in the Senate, and I was like, man, this is not even going to be a thing for the election. And he's like, oh, that's bullshit. Of course it's going to be. And I'm like, at that moment, the big thing that was happening was one of the guys that was connected to Rudy Giuliani. Well, his name was Lev Parnas. And I said, do me a favor. This is January. On St. Patrick's Day, I want you to go up to a stranger and ask him who Lev Parnas is and tell me whether or not they know what it is. They know what it is. As it turns out, the world was already shut down at that point, so there was a lot more going on beyond the impeachment, which now feels like it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, JDS3K in the chat says, in a bit we'll have more wars and nobody will care. Ooh, man, that's all I'm afraid of. That's all I'm afraid of is if we can knock it off with the
We'll see. We'll see. I think I don't like politicians, and I've never felt more secure in my opinions.
Yeah. Okay. Things we are happy about going into the rest of the year.
All this beer.
God damn right. I do think after the fact, I know I was asked last night and I didn't have an answer. I think I do know what I want for Christmas. I think I want some kind of good sound system that is able to power like 8 rock speakers all across the property. Like, because right now I'm just sort of, I have kind of a Jimmy Job situation with 4 of them, but it's like, I really dig just sort of like turning on lo-fi chill hop, and then sitting there making a campfire, and then it's the best. It's the best thing in the world. So if anyone has any suggestions, hit me up.
So you want outdoor stuff?
Or? Oh no! It would be an indoor device that is meant to power. Because right now what I have is it's a 150 watt Sonos, and it's meant for 2 speakers. But what I'm doing is I'm doing that dorm room thing of you take 4 speakers and you double up the wires, but then it unevenly puts the signal out to them, and one's really quiet, the other's really loud, and it's just clearly not meant for that. I would love something that could intentionally power like 8 speakers and then spread them all out so that it's just so great when to be honest, it reminds me of everything I love about Epcot, where it's like it's never loud and overwhelming, but wherever you sit, you could kind of hear some rad music happening.
I was gonna say, I think that the final version of HQ will include ambient sound, like even in like the furthest recesses of some of the wooded area.
Right. Well, and we've talked about how I want to set up like a literal haunted section where it largely stays quiet all night long, but then like at random intervals between 1 and 4 a.m. it does, crazy haunted sounds and
goblin whispering.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you ever encounter it, it's just incredible.
Fucking amen.
Dude,
all right.
Good times, man. I'm glad we're getting back into the happy hour groove. Sorry for all the disruptions, but we love you guys. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
Happy hour. Night Attacks Happy Hour. Night Attacks Happy Hour.